When did you realize someone was all bark and no bite? Dr. Jeffrey Steinberg ruled Metropolitan General Hospital like a medical dictator. For 7 years, this cardiac surgeon terrorized nurses, residents, and anyone beneath his position with explosive tantrums, career-ending threats, and a god complex that made everyone believe he was untouchable. Steinberg was everything you'd expect from a stereotypical surgeon with an ego. 52 years old, perfectly pressed scrubs, voice that could silence entire operating rooms. He'd throw surgical instruments when things didn't go perfectly, scream at nurses until they cried, and destroy residents' confidence with public humiliation disguised as medical education. The man had zero tolerance for what he called incompetence from his support staff. Drop a sterile instrument, expect a 20-minute tirade about how your stupidity could kill patients. Question his judgment, prepare for career sabotage disguised as professional concern. He'd file disciplinary reports, block promotions, and make people's lives miserable until they transferred departments or quit entirely. Steinberg claimed connections throughout the medical establishment, hospital board members, medical school deans, licensing boards that could end careers with one phone call. "I'll make sure you never work in healthcare again," was his favorite threat, delivered with the confidence of someone who'd been getting away with abuse for years. Everyone walked on eggshells around him because his surgical skills were genuinely exceptional, and the hospital's cardiac program was nationally ranked. Administration looked the other way because Steinberg brought in millions in revenue and prestige. His victims suffered in silence, believing he had the power to destroy their medical careers. Steinberg had this psychological warfare technique where he'd publicly quiz staff about complex medical procedures during emergencies, then berate them for life-threatening ignorance when they couldn't answer perfectly under pressure. Pure sadism disguised as patient safety. Then came trauma nurse Darla Mitchell, 29, former Army medic with 2 tours in Afghanistan who'd seen real life and death pressure. During her first week, Steinberg gave her the full intimidation treatment, impossible demands, constant criticism, threats about her obvious incompetence. 3 weeks in, during a complex cardiac surgery, Steinberg's arrogance nearly killed a patient. He ignored Darla's warnings about irregular heart rhythms, dismissing her concerns as typical nurse paranoia. When the patient went into cardiac arrest, he froze. Darla immediately started CPR while Steinberg stood paralyzed. She called out specific medication orders, coordinated the crash team, and essentially ran the code blue while Steinberg watched helplessly. 20 minutes later, the patient was stable. Afterward, Steinberg tried to take credit and threatened Darla not to discuss his temporary lapse with anyone. That's when Darla looked him in the eyes and said calmly, "Doctor, I think there's something you should know about my background." Steinberg assumed she was intimidated and about to apologize. Instead, Darla continued, "I spent 4 years as a combat medic in Kandahar. I've run trauma codes under rocket fire with better composure than you just showed." The OR went silent. Darla wasn't finished. "I also studied law and consult on medical ethics cases. Your behavior violates about 12 different professional conduct standards." Steinberg's face went white, but Darla was already pulling out her phone. "Oh, and that patient you almost killed? His irregular rhythms were textbook signs of a medication reaction I flagged 3 times. Any first-year resident would have caught it." The surgical team exchanged glances. Everyone had witnessed Steinberg's incompetence under pressure, his frozen panic when real medical judgment was needed. Darla had exposed him as a fraud who relied on routine procedures and intimidation to hide his limitations. Within hours, Darla's incident report triggered a full investigation. Dozens of staff members came forward with evidence of Steinberg's abuse and medical errors he'd covered up through intimidation. His exceptional surgical record was revealed to be built on taking credit for residents' work and avoiding complex cases. Steinberg was suspended pending investigation, eventually lost his surgical privileges, and now works at a rural urgent care clinic doing basic wound care. Darla was promoted to head of trauma nursing and implemented zero-tolerance policies for physician abuse. The hospital's cardiac program improved dramatically once staff felt safe reporting concerns and contributing expertise without fear of retaliation.